Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this Business Spotlight series. I'm Todd Rodden. I'm a certified business and executive coach, owner of Aspire Action Coach, based in the Dayton and Cincinnati, Ohio areas. And today I'm fortunate to have Kathleen Hotmer here with me. She is the owner and founder of Pink Moon Goods, which we're going to learn more about her interesting storefront and online presence here. And again, if you're new to the Business Spotlight, we're glad to have you join us. Encourage you to go out and subscribe to our channel. That way, you receive additional insights from other business owners as we drop them regularly on the channel site. And also like this interview as well. It's a great way to encourage others to review and check out the learnings from Kathleen and other business owners. So with that, Kathleen, we're excited to have you join us. Maybe just take a minute and introduce yourself, tell a little about your background, and share a little bit about the story about Pink Moon Goods.
Okay. Well, thanks for the introduction and thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about my business and share with other business owners. I started Pink Moon Goods in 2020 as just a pop-up kind of remote model. And I spent 2 years doing that before I left my full-time job that I was working at the time. My previous career was in costume design for theater, film, and sometimes dance. And I left that job in May of 2022, and I opened my brick and mortar in September of 2022. So I've been in my brick and mortar for a year now. I don't know if I ever really thought I would open a business earlier in my life, but in 2018, when I was traveling on my honeymoon, my husband and I were traveling through New England, and I went to so many cute little shops all throughout New England that had basically all the things that I love to buy. And it occurred to me on that trip how much Dayton needed something like that. And so that was really what inspired me to kind of, create the idea that eventually became Pink Moon Goods. And yeah, so here I am in my shop.
Maybe take a minute, just kind of explain like the types of goods that you have here, what and who's kind of your target customer.
Yeah. So I think in a way, this is one of the most interesting questions about my business, because when I set out to start Pink Moon Goods, I really had a major ethical dilemma with the idea of pushing consumerism. So I thought long and hard about it, and really almost for over a year, I didn't even make any steps towards creating the business because I was so hung up on this idea. So my solution was to basically create a shop that was filled with ethically produced or ethically manufactured goods, and things that also would kind of just help people make better decisions about how they were spending their money. And there's multiple layers to that, but what I've learned is that although those are, I would say definitely one of my demographics of people are people that are what you might call a ethical consumer, someone who votes with their money, who wants to make sure that the money that they're spending on anything is, that isn't on something that's being produced through child labor, slave labor. It isn't something that's, providing or producing toxins and, and damaging the environment. And so I certainly am filling that spot, especially in Dayton. But I've also realized that there's a lot of people that just really enjoy the kind of eclectic and unique curation of goods that I carry. I carry some things that I carry a lot of things that you can't find in Dayton at all, except for in my shop. And they're international brands, some of them are just, brand, like a lot of stationery lines. I carry cards and greeting cards and journals are from artists that a lot of people in Dayton know because they're well known and successful artists, but you couldn't find them anywhere in Dayton until I opened my shop. So, and some people just like to come in here because I have a bunch of pretty things, and it's kind of a mix of those things in terms of who my customer base is. And it's one of the things that, as I started and putting things in motion, that really changed. And in the beginning, I never referred to my shop as a gift shop. But since I've been in my brick and mortar and just, the increase of customers, I realized that a lot of people consider my shop a gift shop. So I just kind of had to get on board with that notion. Yeah.
So a lot of ethically produced items, eclectic, kind of just becoming kind of a gift focus. I think I'd share with the viewers as well, is you're also in a historic area of Dayton that's really going through a lot of revitalization. Your shop is part of that transformation in that part of the community as well. So.
Yeah, and that was something that, I was a little bit nervous about. I really was attached to the idea of being downtown, but this building, it just kind of like, it was a very kind of typical serendipitous situation where, I knew the building was here, but I kind of didn't pay attention to it. And then people started kind of nudging me that way. And then once I came to the neighborhood and walked around and looked at the building, I just fell in love with it. And I realized in the year that I've been here how important it is to this neighborhood that my shop is here, because it is a neighborhood that has a lot of potential for revitalization. And I can't even tell you how many people I have educated on where my shop even is. I mean, there's so many people that live in Dayton, in the surrounding suburbs, that don't even realize that there's anything downtown outside of the Oregon district. So yeah, so moving to this location was really a lot of faith, like just trusting and and then doing all the hard things to create the awareness that I'm here. But I couldn't be happier to have landed in this building, for sure.
Shifting gears maybe just a little bit around your role as the business owner. Maybe explain your role. What are some of the various hats that you wear? Do you have any partners that you work with?
Yeah. So I'm pretty much a one-woman show. I do almost everything, in terms of the functioning of my shop by myself. I currently don't have any full-time employees. I have 2 part-time helpers that will, fill in, and I've got a community of friends that will, come and sit in the shop if I need to get out for a few hours for something. So I've been really fortunate that, even though I function primarily by myself, I have a pretty extensive support network, and I wouldn't be able to survive without it. I do have one friend who is really probably definitely my primary helper. He's a neighbor to my shop, and he just has a schedule that allows him a lot of free time. So he spends a lot of time in my shop, and he is very much he really enjoys merchandising, and he just likes to hang out with me. We've become really close. So I've marveled, especially in the last couple of days, for some reason, just how his presence in my life and in my shop has really, I wonder what my shop would be like without the influence of his presence. And so he's probably, the one that I'm the most thankful for in terms of the support that he's given me and how much I've learned from, not only what he does, but I think when you work by yourself, it's really easy to just kind of stay in that little bubble and exist in a vacuum. And as soon as you invite other people into your business, it changes your business and you learn things. And I've learned so much from just he and I, like collaborating, talking about products, moving things around, trying to overcome challenges, like, when one product isn't moving, it's like, okay, what can we do? Like, let's find a way to create some excitement. And just having another person to talk to, even just on a slow day, having a friend here for an hour can just make a huge difference in your attitude and your disposition. So
Being a business owner can feel so lonely at times, right? You're
it
you're
really
you're relatively alone, but it can feel lonely. So having
can.
somebody else who you can confide in, give you advice, give you ideas, can be
Yeah.
very helpful.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I tend to be the kind of person that, like, I need to like talk things out sometimes. So, I often make decisions through that process of talking, and it's like I realize I know what the decision is. I know what the right thing is, but without that person there to be like a sounding board, I wouldn't have come to the decision. So,
you talked about, hey, when some merchandise isn't moving, how to create kind of a buzz around things. That falls
yeah.
right into marketing and marketing strategy. So, how do you approach marketing? Do you have a set budget that you allocate to it, and do you have what particular strategies have you found to be most successful for really for you your unique offerings?
Yeah. So I think probably the biggest marketing strategy, and one that it's really hard to actually gauge how successful it is because it's very anecdotal, is the fact that almost, I would say, 95% of the products that I carry have a story to tell, whether it's the story of the artisan, the story of the actual product, the story of um, me using the product, the story, the, creation story of the product. I mean, there's so many different angles that a story can take, right, for any product, but almost anything in my shop, I can have a conversation with a customer about. And I've just seen how much people respond to that. They it's it's part of what I think makes my shop so unique, is that I not only are the stories there, but I know them and I can tell them. And I mean, I have people come in my store and bring friends for the first time, and they'll tell their friends, like, oh, she knows everything about her products, ask her any questions, she knows all the stories. And I just think it's just something magical that people respond to. I share stories in my Instagram and Facebook posts. I share them in my emails. I share them when I do, interviews for anything really, but interviews for events, or I've done some launch date and stuff. I've share stories in those, and it's just, yeah, it's just really, really powerful. I think it makes people realize how unique what I have to offer is. In terms of like kind of real life application and like, things that I can kind of like look at the analytics for, honestly, probably the most powerful advertising thing that I've seen is the newspaper, like getting things in locally. Dayton Daily News and Dayton.com, who kind of work, coexist together. I would say more times out of any that people, when I ask people how they found out about my business, it's because they saw something in the Dayton Daily News about my shop. And I've had 3 articles in the Dayton Daily News, one when my shop opened, one when I had my 1-year anniversary, and then recently another one promoting the historic Inner East Business District. And all 3 of those, I would get, multiple compliments, comments. I had people send me, like the former mayor of Dayton sent me a clipping of the newspaper article. So yeah, that's probably the most powerful thing. And then, social media, obviously, that's a really challenging thing for a business that's run by one person to do. So I use like the Plan app, some kind of planning app where I can write things on the computer, and I can, kind of pre-make a post and then share it later. And I found that just to be helpful for managing like the actual creation of the posts and getting them out there. Otherwise, I can let a whole day go by where I don't do anything. And then probably recently with this event we did some like paid social media advertising. And I have to say it had to work, because all the businesses that were a part of this event for Small Shop Saturday, last Saturday, the last Saturday of November, all saw like an increase in business. And I think probably a lot due in part to both the Dayton Daily News article and the social media advertising. And we spent $120 total. So for 6 businesses, it was like $20 each. And yeah, I mean, so it was really affordable. And, I don't remember the amount of clicks or impressions or any of that, but it just seemed like people showed up, and it had to be partially due to that.
Great examples of how outstanding marketing, one, doesn't have to be expensive, but also doesn't have to be overly complicated either, right?
It,
Right. We tend to it's easy to do that. And example, the newspaper, many people think the newspaper, right?
yeah,
But no, actually, but
newspaper.
yeah, not necessarily advertising in the newspaper, but the stories, right? Especially
Yeah,
your line of business, your story is what gets people's attention. So.
yeah, exactly. Mhm.
So as you think back over the last 3+ years now, what's been the single biggest roadblock that you've overcome, and how did you do that?
Um, I think the biggest roadblock for me was just in the very beginning, and it was just the fear and the, not knowing 100% how to maneuver out of my previous career and my full-time job. I mean, I have a degree in costume design. I worked for almost 20 years as a costumer in different capacities. I was at the college that I was teaching at. I had been there for 14 years. So much of my identity was wrapped up in that job. In the very beginning, it was like, okay, wait, then I'm not a costume designer anymore. I'm not a Sinclair employee anymore. I'm not a theater artist anymore. Like, and at first it was like, it was kind of like an identity crisis. Like that stuff was more important to me than I realized that it was, I think. And the idea of it not being a part of who I was anymore, it really invoked a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, and yeah, just like, what, well, how could I just throw that all away? But it was like I never had to like sit down and be like, okay, am I going to do this or not? It just, the more I contemplated it, the more I talked about it, the more I journaled about it. And honestly, I think my story it's not uncommon. I think COVID, on the one hand, when COVID first hit, like I was planning on launching my business in the summer of 2019. So when COVID hit, obviously it put my plans, to the side, but it also gave me an opportunity to, once I kind of got through those first few months, it gave me a lot of opportunities. And I think one of the opportunities was just learning that like my job was not the end all be all, and that I really wasn't that happy doing it. So it was just like, I had more time. I had the ability to start putting things in place. And then, our city started doing these sidewalk sales to kind of promote, ground floor retail spaces and to help ground floor businesses during COVID. And that was it. That was the moment that I was like, okay, like they're going to do these sidewalk sales. I'm going to start, I had already contacted vendors. I started doing that in like November of 2018 after my honeymoon. And so it was like, I kind of got back in touch with people, and, I think a lot of vendors are probably ready, like needed business, and, they were willing to accept me without a brick and mortar, some of them. And it just, that fear and the uncertainty, it just kind of dissipated, and not that I don't still have fears. I obviously do. They're just different. But that was my biggest hurdle, I think, really. And I got past it.
Great story. Again, that mindset, that have to do that shift of going from an employee to now being the owner, and driving forward through lots of changes, adversity, and even some of the, COVID caused really some a delay in your plans, but also gave you time to reflect and actually probably fueled your motivation to move forward even more. So where do you go from here? When you look down the road, the future, where do you see the business going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I kind of have two thoughts. Before I even moved into this, or while I was in the process of moving into this brick and mortar, the contractor that was in here that was kind of finishing, doing the finishing touches, he just made kind of a side-handed comment about me taking over the building across the street from me. There's another building. It's a beautiful building. It's similar to mine. It has 3 apartments and then a ground floor commercial space. The owners bought these buildings in 2020 and completely gutted them and refinished them. They're beautiful. They completely changed the front of the buildings to bring them back to the original look of the buildings. They had been modified over the years. And the space is still sitting empty. So I do all of the time, I think, oh, my store's, it's getting too small. I'm outgrowing it. I should move across the street and, have more products. And I want to sell like, linens, like bedding and curtains and tablecloths and like bigger kid toys. And, so I kind of think about expanding, getting bigger. But then, the other part of my mind is like, I love my little shop, and I love that because of the space, I'm constantly challenged to like move inventory in and out. I don't always have the same things at the right, at the same moment, but I kind of have a rotating inventory, and I think it helps make the space dynamic, and people, when they come in, it's like they're trying to discover, the new thing. And so, I sometimes just see myself here in the shop doing the same thing, 10, 15 years down the line, and just enjoying it. There's just something really, I don't know, just kind of like sweet and nostalgic about being a shop owner of a tiny shop, and just I just really I like it. I like the idea of it, and I think the community likes it. I mean, I just yeah, like I'm afraid to change it basically, because it's just so awesome how it is right now.
It's your new identity, right? So to think
Yeah, it
differently
is.
about that, right?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Yeah.
So, uh, so I gave you a magic wand, and you could use that magic wand to fix one area of the business, one particular challenge that you have. Where would you use that magic wand?
I think that there's so many things, right? I mean, every day there's like a long list, but honestly, when I like am up at night, that light goes off and my brain's like bing and the thoughts just start going. The biggest thing that I think one of my biggest roadblocks every day is just how to get people in my shop and how to, just kind of change the kind of trajectory that our world is going in, where we've moved away from relying on small like neighborhood shops, and we've turned to, wanting to buy everything online. um I can't, like, I love that people love my shop, and the people that do love it are here and supporting me, and it's amazing, and I feel thankful every day. But it's like I can't survive without those people, and I need more of those people, just like every business. Like, I realize that my own habits change over time. And so, whereas I may have supported one business, it maybe shifts to a different one. And I just think, it's normal for humans to change how they are doing things in their lives, where they're going, how they're spending their time, where they're spending their money. And so, yeah, like, I think if I had the, magical fairy dust, it would just like sprinkle little whispers in people's ears saying, like, go to that shop, go look in that shop, go explore that shop, go, find something interesting. Like, just the people that drive by every day, that they're like, they come in finally and they're like, oh yeah, I've been driving by every day, and it took them 8 months to come in. Yeah. So it's like, great. I'm glad you came in. Now it's here. Come in again. Tell all your friends, and just remember, like, people want their cities to be interesting and cool and dynamic and vibrant. And, I have something to offer for that. But I can't do it without the people, and so, yeah, those are my biggest stakeholders, and I want them to, like, come in here and find something that they're really excited about and enjoy the experience. And I want to keep doing that. So
So
that's
before I ask our final question here today, what are the best ways for folks to stay connected with you, to follow you and Pink Moon Goods?
Well, I have a website, first of all. It's www.pinkmoongoods.com. Everything pretty much is just Pink Moon Goods, no hyphens or periods or anything like that. So my Instagram is just Pink Moon Goods, and my Facebook is Pink Moon Goods. My shop is in the Huffman neighborhood. It's on 5th Street. It's not in the Oregon District. It's on 5th Street, about a mile and a half from the Oregon District. It's very easy to get to. There's really good, easy street parking right outside my door. It's well lit in the evenings. And yeah, that's how to find me.
Great ways to follow folks, encourage folks to stay connected with you and see more about your story. So, final questions. Final question. What do you find most inspiring today? What inspires you?
Um, I think that the thing that inspires me, like pretty much every morning at this point, maybe this will change, but I I worked in an environment for 15 years that was basically like concrete. Like I just felt like I was surrounded by gray concrete all the time. And when I come into my shop, I mean, you all are just seeing like this tiny little bit of my shop, and it's just so much more exciting than my concrete room ever was. So I feel inspired to that I was able to create this beautiful, cozy, comfy space that when people walk in the door, I hear things like, or oh my goodness, or just the size and the expressions, and that inspires me every day. It makes my heart so full. It's how I felt when I've gone into shops, and yeah, it's magical, and it makes me happy to be here every day.
Oh, thank you. Great to hear that. Kathleen, thank you for sharing your story, the
Yeah.
Pink Moods Goods story as well. Many great lessons here for business owners. Encourage folks to follow her, check out their website, pinkmoongoods.com. It is holiday, lots of shopping season coming, lots of great items for someone special in your life. So encourage you to look there as well. And again, thank you for those who joined us today. And again, encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you receive even more insights from other business owners in the future. So thank you, and hope you all have a terrific day.